everyone, my name's Bailey Langner, here to interview for the school board position.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming tonight, submitting your application. I have a cold, so I'm not going to be asking questions.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's all right. Just to lay out the way that the procedure is going to work is all the candidates get 3 minutes to answer each question. And if time remains at the end, then you'll have time for a final statement.
Understood.
Or you could revisit a question
Okay.
if you'd like to go back,
Makes
but
sense.
that'll be another 3 minutes. So we have 9 questions. Are we giving everyone 30
Yes.
minutes total? Or
30 minutes.
20, okay, 30 minutes total. The candidates are going to be brought in individually, like yourself, and sequestered in the meantime. And also, we'd ask that you leave the board meeting after you're done, and so that, as we've, I think, wrongly
I
done in
understand
the
what
past,
you mean.
had former interviewed candidates sitting in the audience watching, and we just don't need that. So appreciate your sensitivity there. All right, I think we're ready.
Okay, so the first question comes from me.
Oh, let me just ask one. You're timing?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, you are the superintendent's official timekeeper.
Okay, so briefly describe your commitment to public education in our local school district.
Wonderful. Just as a first matter, thank you so much for having me here and hearing me out. To answer your first question, I have a very strong commitment to public education. I grew up in Martinez, California, not too far from here, which is another small unified school district. And I was in that district K through 12. It's not housed in a single campus like Emeryville, but it's a similar community, a similar continuity. And that was I think something that I benefited greatly from. I certainly want my future children to go to public schools. I think they are one of the most important parts that the state provides for students, that local governments provide for students. And I'm a member of the Emeryville community. I would like to see strong public schools here that I want to send my children to as well.
Okay, thank you.
Question number 2, please share any background information that you feel prepares you for a position as a school board member. For example, education, work experience, etc.
So a couple things. I studied public policy and public health in college, and I think studying those areas provides sort of a platform to understand school policy, education policy. I also was involved in a lot of volunteer activities and have been involved in a lot of volunteer activities related to education. In college, I volunteered in a local classroom. I was a member of the varsity swim team in college, and all the varsity teams were assigned a classroom at the local elementary school. So we visited, my team in particular was assigned to a kindergarten class. We visited the school on a weekly basis. I got to know the students, worked with them regularly at their stations. I also, in college, volunteered. This is sort of I guess a consistent theme, is volunteering related to education type organizations. I acted as a tutor for developmentally disabled adults. Moving along, I attended law school. I'm a lawyer, which I think also gives me, I was essentially trained to understand complex regulations and things like that are relevant to the school board. While I was in law school, I served as a teaching assistant for the first year writing program. I also volunteered doing direct service work as a law student for 2 years, during which time I worked with some of the most vulnerable members of the community to help them get public benefits like SSI and SSDI. So I think those sorts of experiences will help me as a school board member. I've essentially worked with all different types of people in those roles, people of different races, different classes, different wealth levels, people with developmental disabilities, people who are homeless. And so I've had to learn how to connect to people in all those different roles. And I think that type of training and that type of experience will help me connect with the community members in Emeryville.
Great. Thank you. If you can please describe your commitment to ensuring the board functions well and share any prior experience on working on boards or teams that you might have.
Thank you. I have quite a lot of experience working on boards and teams. I kind of laugh. I ran for my first sort of public office when I was in second grade, student treasurer or something along those lines. And I was involved in student government throughout my senior year in high school. I was the ASB president at Alhambra High School in Martinez. In college, I was a member of the varsity swim team, and I served as the captain during my junior and senior years of that, my education there. Let's see. Sure. In law school, I also served on several boards. I was a board member of the Bolt Hall Women's Association, where we put on events for students. We helped with coaching and mentoring and training for preparing students for jobs. I also co-founded an organization called the Health Law Initiative at Berkeley Law, and we established a medical legal partnership between the East Bay Community Law Center, which is affiliated with Berkeley Law School, and Highland Hospital and Oakland Children's Hospital. And a friend and I, we oversaw that program, and we trained first-year law students to staff the medical legal partnership, where we did intakes with people at the hospital to help get them public benefits that might sort of holistically treat some of the medical problems they were having. I also currently, in my job, I am a member of a committee that publishes a newsletter on data privacy and security issues, which is one of my interest areas. And I help every couple of months oversee the publication of those articles. So I guess there's one part left to the question, which is describe my commitment to ensuring the board functions well. I think my experience on boards and teams will serve me well. I recognize that I would be one member of a 5-member board, one voice of 5 that is working together to help best serve the students in this school district. And that would be my commitment to you all.
Thank you.
How does the board's role differ from that of the superintendent?
I envision the school board as setting goals and policy and creating a vision for the school district, partnering with the community to determine what the needs of the students are, what the needs of the community are, and coming up with a vision and goals that reflect the needs of the community. I also envision the school board partnering with the superintendent to figure out how that vision can be implemented. And then ultimately, I believe that it's the superintendent's role to officially implement the policies and visions and goals that the school board comes up with in conjunction with the superintendent and the community.
Thank you.
Question number 5. With the district's 4 goals in mind, I believe you have a copy there. What do you see as the strengths of the Emory Unified School District?
I think there are a couple very important strengths that the Emory Unified School District has, and one is that small size. As I mentioned, I was a product of the Martinez Unified School District, which is not quite as small as Emory, but is relatively small. the school district that I grew up in was certainly a very tight-knit community. There was a lot of continuity between the 4 elementary schools that fed into 1 middle school and 1 high school. And I think Emory Unified has a lot of similar characteristics that I experienced as a student, and even more so given that you are housed in 1 campus. I love that about Emory Unified. I would say that's another strength. When I was in high school, I was still in touch with some of my elementary school teachers, my middle school teachers. I'm still in touch with some of them today because Martinez is such a tight-knit community, and Emory is the same. And if you have students that have the continuing support of their elementary school teachers, their middle school teachers, their high school teachers, that they're all located in one place, that is just a tremendous asset that really is to be cherished and is very unique. I think another strength, and I guess speaking directly to the 4 goals and strategies, I think the small size really helps students have equitable access to educational opportunities, which would be consistent with goal number 1. When you have the small environment, it's a lot more easy to make sure that students are not left behind, they're not sort of lost in the crowd. I also think that so going back to the ECCL, the campus, I think that's another strength. My understanding is that the school district, via the ECCL, treats students much more holistically than maybe in other neighboring districts, given that you have a medical clinic, a dental clinic, there's the athletic facilities, and there's really a sense that you are treating the student holistically and giving them the best foot forward so that they can learn. If there are health problems or other sort of social problems going on, then a lot of those are addressed here so that the students are able to focus on school and learning. I think that's consistent with, let's see, goal 4, which is the comprehensive multi-use city school campus. Comprehensive resources to bring members of the Emeryville community together to interact and learn. And that's something I really, really love about this district.
All right, thank you.
With the district's 4 goals in mind that you have in front of you, what do you see as the areas most needing improvement within the Emory Unified School District?
I see one challenge as the high school area. My understanding is that there's often a drop-off in student enrollment after 8th or 9th grade, and that students go to other schools. I think that's a challenge that Emory faces. And it's possible that that's related to goal 2 when we're talking about making sure students are career and college ready. I think that should be a continued focus for improvement. This sort of gets into another question down the line, but making sure that there's support for students that want to apply to college, like career counselors and people checking in to make sure students understand the process of applying to college. Applying to college is a major challenge, even if you have resources, if you have college-educated parents. The process has changed so rapidly, and it is so complicated, and there are so many steps that this school, I think, all schools need to do a better job of making sure students understand what that process is and what steps they need to take to get into colleges or be prepared for certain careers.
Of the district's 4 goals, are there any that you do not support? Do you have any additional goals you think should be considered?
I like all of these 4 goals. I support them all. I think they're about empowering students, providing equal educational opportunities for all students, incorporating technology into the classroom, which is also huge. We as a society, our students will not keep up in the global economy if technology is not a focus of students' educations. I think one thing that this is going back to my last answer, one thing that I would like to see added or emphasize more is the college preparedness. And not so, again, not so much the college preparedness, but helping students apply to college, get into college and other technical schools or vocational schools. I know my experience in Martinez was this was a struggle when I was there as well. There had been a college counselor before I started at Alhambra High School that had been cut due to budgetary concerns, and the regular counselors were doing double duty trying to help the seniors apply for college. I think the first time that I heard anyone from school in an official capacity talk about college was the day before the early decision applications were due for schools. One of the counselors came into my AP English classroom to talk to all of the students and about applying to college. I had outside help. I had people that were supporting me and explaining the process to me outside of high school, but it was a massive disservice to a lot of my peers who were, again, who didn't have people that could guide them through the college application process. And when you're coming in to talk to students the day before early applications are due, those students, if they're not already applying, they won't apply at that stage, which again was a huge disservice to them. So I think that's something I would like to see strengthened at Emory Unified as well.
Question 8, are you aware that the district is striving to be a full-service community school, and what does that mean to you?
I'm very much aware of that. I think that's a remarkable goal. What that means to me is that, consistent with what I was talking about a few minutes ago, the school really wants to treat students holistically. They want to coordinate academic, social, medical, and other support services for students, again, so that students can focus on learning and not have to worry about medical problems or going to the dentist, things like that. I also think that becoming a full-service community school means that the school is focusing on the families of students and the community members, and again, making sure that we have a holistic program here, all geared towards providing support for students and making sure that they have every opportunity for success in their school, in their post-school college or career goals. And so that's what that means to me, and I think that's very important. As I've mentioned, had a community in my schooling system that provided me with that kind of support. And so I personally could not be happier that Emory is trying to obtain that distinction.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, last question. What is your commitment to Emory Unified School District continuing in its current form, and why or why not is this important?
Can I ask a clarifying question? By in its current form, do you mean as an independent district, or what is it? Is that what that means?
As an independent K-12 district in its current, yeah.
Thank you. I'm very committed to Emory Unified remaining in its current form. I think that the themes that this is consistent with some of the things I've mentioned before. This sense of community that you have with a K-12 district, the sense of support, the sense of continuity, where students are receiving encouragement from past teachers, from their peers of all ages. That's an invaluable resource for the students, and having that continuity just means that there are more people available and around to support the students and help them at every step of the way achieve their goals, set goals, and figure out what they want to do after high school, what they want to do with their careers. That's all, actually. Yeah.
Okay, how is Ms. Langner doing on time?
We have about 12 minutes left.
Oh, okay. She doesn't need all of that time, but
I don't
You-
think
you
I'd
could-
like to speak to you for 12 minutes,
Probably
so.
gonna- But you have time for a final 3 minutes of wrap-up, or if you want to revisit a question or a final
All
statement.
right, let me just look over the questions one more time and make sure there's nothing I want to revisit. I don't think there's anything specific in the questions I'd like to revisit. I'd just like to emphasize that I would love to get involved in this school district. I've lived in Emeryville for about 5 years now. I graduated from law school in 2015, and that was really my community up until that point. The law school, the volunteering I did there, the work I did related to the law school. So I'd really like to get more involved in the Emeryville community. Service to education has been a commitment of mine and a theme of the volunteer work that I've done since I was in college. And I really think this is a very special school district. Going back to the size, the continuity that students get on the K-12 campus, and the commitment of Emory to really see students holistically and take care of their social needs, their medical needs, and social support. And again, I'm really excited to be here, and I would love to serve Emory Unified and the students and get more involved in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you again.
All right.
Have a good night.
I think we're ready for our next candidate.
Do we know who it is?
No.
Well, it should be Mr. Byron, according to the schedule and agenda,
Okay.
and then Mr. Bukowski, third, and Mr. Van Geffen, fourth.